John Hale, go ahead.
Brad, when you went back and watched the film of that Mississippi State game, I think obviously a lot of teams try to drop 8, but as you said last week, you got a tackle. What exactly was going on in the tackling there? Is that something you can address, or is there something bigger happening?
Yeah, obviously, tackling wise, we did not do a good job there. We had 21 missed tackles, and if you put the films back to back, of the year before and this one, that was a big difference, and you heard talk all week, we got to get set up in our drops, and we drifted, too much. And then coming out of those breaks, we did, they weren't sharp angles, we rounded stuff. It puts you in a bad position to tackle. And you got to come down with bad intentions, and you've got to really want to go put your face on somebody to tackle players in the SEC. And I don't think that we necessarily did that.
John Clay.
Brad, I think Tennessee leads the nation in plays per minute, very high tempo offense. What sort of challenge is that for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's as fast an offense as there is in the country, in terms of how quickly they snap the ball. So obviously that puts a ton of stress on the defense, the communication aspect of it. So our guys have to, get lined up quick, get the quick communication, get the call, identify the formation. They've got a lot of talent, out wide, and those skilled receivers, they're long, they're fast, they make a lot of big plays. The 2 running backs are really doing a great job, of running downhill. 8 does such a good job of hugging linemen, and leaning back into them on all their run plays. He's, a lot of guys are gap sound, but then they miss him. He actually slides right by the tackler who's sitting in his gap, just because of his running style. And then obviously Hooker's doing such a good job in that offense. He's managing it to perfection. He understands where to go with the football. When it's his time to run, he makes big plays with his legs. So it's a huge challenge. This might be our biggest of the year, from an offensive explosion aspect, and they can get you at any time. There's a lot of points on film where those receivers are behind DBs, and it doesn't matter which team they're playing. So we've got to do a good job, trying to stay on top.
Brad, they score about half of their points in the first quarter this season. Do you view that from a strategic standpoint as coincidental, or is there a way to address that and approach it?
Well, I think you can't practice. I mean, you can try to simulate as much as you can, that tempo, but it is hard to simulate and to replicate. And they do such a nice job of jumping on teams early with that. And we've got to try to do as good a job of winning early, in the game, winning early downs. And then when we have a chance to get off, that was a big deal, last week was we didn't get off on third when we had some opportunities, especially that first drive of the second half. We had multiple times to get off the field, whether it be third down, whether it be an interception in our hands. Those are plays we have to make if you want to win in the SEC.
Lonnie?
Yeah, Brad. Talk about the improvement of where you are with the nose tackle, especially with Josiah Hayes, and how is he doing as far as getting drawing double team and getting off double teams and causing some confusion in the backfield? I saw where he got a sack this past week.
Yeah, at that nose guard position, between Justin and Josiah, they're doing a decent job in there. Both of them have things they really need to clean up. Josiah, you asked specifically, Josiah, has the physical tools, and, obviously he had that sack, which was good, early in the first quarter, but he needs to continue to, increase his stamina, you know, his the number of plays he can play, you know, while still straining to the football, tearing off of blocks. You know, so there are a lot of things that he needs to continue to improve upon, and this will be a big game for him. You know, you talk about having to be in great condition. You know, that's where they stress you, and you'll test your wind and your lungs early and often with their pace, and they make you stay on the field because it's hard to sub. So, you know, guys like, you know, that's the hardest on those nose tackles. Like those guys, you know, when you're, you know, well above 300 pounds, you know, it's hard to go 3, 4, 5, 6, you know, plays in a row. And that's why I think it's so vital for us to try to get off the field as quickly as we can. And that kind of goes without saying, but especially against a team like this.
Kent Spencer.
Yeah, Brad, you mentioned that Josiah and Justin have done a decent job, but you guys have been out for a few games now without guys like Marquand and Octavius. How much has that changed what you can do defensively with the unit that you currently have? Have you had to make a lot of adjustments there? Because, you know, for you guys, it always seems like it starts up front.
Yeah, I mean, but I think, hey, listen, everybody across the country, you know, deals with adversity, and you know, that's part of football, and that's part of you know, good and great teams, you know, adjust to those things, and guys have stepped up. Obviously, do we miss them? Yes, very much so. Just you know, not only their presence, but the depth that they provide, the versatility, you know, like you said, the different things you can do. But that's football, and Justin and Josiah and, you know, everybody else that has to step in and play significant snaps since they're not here. You know, that's what we've got to do. So, you know, there's no getting around the fact that, you know, in football, things happen and guys adjust. Coach talks about all the time, the next guy up, and but we are who we are. You know, you have to try to make tweaks to make sure that your personnel fits what you're doing. But at the end of the day, our identity is what it is, and it's about playing fast and physical and tough. And that was what was a little bit disappointing about last week. That was not us.
Adam.
Yeah, Brad. Believe Josh Heupel and Jeff Lebby worked together at UCF. Any similarities you see in this Tennessee offense compared to the Ole Miss offense you saw last year? And if so, is there any lessons you all can take from kind of matching up with that once already?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the tempo piece, and you know, Coach Heupel and Tennessee is probably arguably faster than what we faced last year in Ole Miss. But I think right now they might be ranked like 1 and 2, you know, in average snap, you know, or whatever it is on the play clock, the highest amount of seconds left on the play clock. But you know, run game wise, I think there's very much some similarities and things that we prepared for in that regard. So yeah, I think there are some things that we can draw on. But at the end of the day, it's about the offensive efficiency that Tennessee is playing with right now, and they're playing at a really high level. And it's going to be, like I said, the biggest challenge to date for us, because it's not just we can talk tempo, but it's about the players they have within the tempo. And the offensive line is nasty and physical up front. Again, the quarterback's super efficient right now. The receivers, you know, are explosive, and the running backs do a really nice job of getting downhill. And when they get in the open field, they can take it the distance. It's not a 5-yard gain that you're going to get for 12. I mean, if they crease you between the safeties, you know, they can go for 90. You saw in the Missouri game, you know, Evans went for 92. So,
Larry Vaught.
Brad, you talked at the beginning about you have to come with bad intentions to want to make tackles, and I think the yards after catch last week was a pretty extraordinary number. So what do you think caused that to regress last week, and what do you do to make sure that doesn't happen again?
yeah, you know, the yards after catch, can be a touch deceiving, just from a standpoint that, if you were in a 10-yard drop and the running back caught it, 15, 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. But the deal is it's that distance to close. It's all right. So you're 10 yards, 12 yards away from a running back that caught a swing pass. We talk about long stride, short stride, getting down, to make the play at the contact point. And it's all right. He's coming full speed at me and I'm going full speed at him. And it's, do I really want it or do I not? Do I want to accept the blow? Do I want to be the hammer? Do I want to be the nail? It doesn't matter what expression you want to say. In this league against the players that you're going to face, do you want to deliver the blow? And it comes down to that. And that's defense. And, the really good ones, they want to strike. And you can see the difference.
Josh Moore.
Hey, Brad, and it's spinning back a few years, but when you all played Hooker in the bowl game, and I know the offense is a lot different, the personnel around him is a lot different, but just what, was he sort of, I guess, how would you, going back to that game plan, was he a kind of a focal point back then? And maybe what have you seen from him as far as a quarterback goes, in terms of improvement from then to now?
Yeah, I mean, he was still very much a focal point of their offense back when we played him in the bowl game. I think there's even a higher level of sort of maturity, poise, confidence in the pocket with him right now that he's playing with. And so again, it's allowing him to play really efficient. I think he's, maybe number 4 in the country right now in, QB efficiency. So he's making the right decisions. He's making big plays in the air. And then when it's time for him to make plays with his legs, he can do it on the design QB runs. Then he can also do it on broken plays. And, when the pocket's starting to collapse, he puts stress on you because he can break the pocket. He's got a really nice arm, so he can still throw it down the field. You got to stay attached to these receivers. But then if you get 2 attached to receivers, he can make one guy miss and he makes a big play on a scramble. So he puts a lot of stress on you in a lot of different ways.
John Hale.
Right. Obviously, the result wasn't anything you all wanted last week, but how do you feel like that strategy of maybe moving JJ and Trevin around to some different positions to get your best group on the field looked, and is that something you're going to stick with moving forward, I guess?
I don't know. You try to make the best decisions that you can, that you think is going to help. Obviously we didn't, the result, didn't turn out the way we wanted it to. So I guess it's up in the air whether that was the right move or not.
Nick Roush.
You mentioned the tempo earlier, but what kind of stress do their wide splits do to you? What challenges do they present in the run and pass game?
Say it again.
Their wide splits. How do they?
Oh, yeah, the receiver wide splits.
Yes.
Yeah, I was off last week. It was the O-line wide split. So now I'm like, the receiver. It does it. In a lot of ways, it can force you to show your hand. In terms of the tighter you get, the more you can disguise things. The wider you get. I mean, you are where you are, and it pretty clearly defines the box. And so that there are some definite challenges there, not to mention that you don't see those super extended splits that often. So it stresses sort of your alignments, from a defensive back perspective that you're just not used to and comfortable being that far, from the ball or so it presents a unique challenge, something that you don't see week in and week out.
Coach, thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.